Hello, everybody. I'm Slice. Today's video is simple, quick, and to the point. Yamari Rodriguez asks, can you please do a video on how to put cables on the machines for the isotopic centrifuge setup? Oh, yes. Yes, I can. But before I get to the actual setup, it's important to cover the machine first. Okay, so here I have just the isotopic centrifuge spawned in. Nothing changed, nothing attached to it. Okay, so some things to note is that we have a side configuration area. Me personally, I never go into the transporter config. I've ignored it every single time on all of the machines. I don't personally need it. So I go into side config. Now, this window is movable, so you can keep that in mind. Something to note about this window. The screen that you're on is an existing tab that exists right here. It's just not visible while you're on it. So if you go to any of these other tabs, you'll notice that it comes up. Okay. Now, this machine in particular has the top side disabled on all of these. It can't be attached to it. Okay. So what we're looking at here is we have a bottom side that has something, and then the cardinal directions also have sides, though 3 of them look like they won't necessarily attach to something. They do. However, if you look at how tall this is, it is a 2x1. Okay, so this top section here doesn't attach to anything. Okay, so think about this block as only having 5 connections as opposed to 6, because generally speaking, when you're attaching a machine, you have all 6 sides of the block to mess with. In this case, you don't have the top and you don't have these 4 sides. Okay, so you're only working with these 4 sides and the bottom. Okay, now what you want to do is take into consideration what you're actually going to be doing with the machine. Okay, so over here, I have a few different examples. We're looking at a radioactive waste barrel, and that is attached to a gas pipe. That means that this is a gas, it's not a fluid. Okay. By default, gases have inputs on the bottom, the back, left, and right. And the front can be switched. Typically speaking, it's by default output. Okay, so right now the way this looks is this machine is outputting into this radioactive waste barrel. You're not actually going to be doing that. So let's take a look at some different pipes here. Okay, we have the gas pipes. See how they don't attach? Fluid pipes, they don't attach. Electrical doesn't attach. Okay, fluid doesn't attach anywhere on this machine. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Only energy and gas. Now, I highly recommend to avoid the pipes mod for 2 reasons. 1, they are actually really slow unless you ramp them up. Additionally, because of how these pipes work, they end up causing a decent amount of lag if they're attached to too many things. My world is plagued with this, but I didn't know that until much later, closer to the end of the series. So if I were to redo it, I would actually go back and not use these pipes at all. Okay. Instead, I highly recommend using mechanism. These can go way faster and they produce way less lag. So notice here that even the pressurized tube isn't touching the top. Okay, and the electrical is not touching the top. Okay, just to show you that it doesn't work. What you're looking for is between these 5 sides, you can configure them how you want between what you're looking for. Okay, so we're over here at the fizzle fuel setup in my actual Let's Play world. I assume that the isotopic centrifuge setup that Yanmari was referring to is the fizzle fuel. If it's not, you can extrapolate hopefully from what I show you to any other setup that you may need.
Okay, so I was talking about the isotopic centrifuge. So note here that the isotopic centrifuge, its front is facing the back of this chemical infuser. Okay, so the side configs show that the back here has an output from the centrifuge, sorry, the chemical infuser into the front of the isotopic centrifuge. Okay, now on the left side, and this is just a choice, you can do this a little bit differently, is where I have my power cable. Notice here that I'm specifically using mechanism and not the pipes mod. Okay, now the output goes from the isotopic centrifuge. Notice here that I have the right side set to output. Okay, that is going into the quantum entangler. Okay, and I'm also powering the entangler via a flux point and a universal cable. Okay, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning on how this works. This fluid trash can is tied into the electrolytic separator up here because for some reason, and I can't explain why, the machine wasn't automatically outputting and it wasn't dumping for me. So this is really a band-aid for the situation that I was in. Okay, you might be able to get this to export the excess here because this needs to go away in order for this oxygen to keep producing. Okay, so first up is going to be the chemical oxidizer. It only needs power. I am importing items via the entangle block right here, along with my modular router setup. Okay, the actual storage for this is my ME interface in the overworld, so that way I can have numerous items stored in there. Okay. Next up, we have the chemical infuser with the electrolytic separator on top of it. The electrolytic separator is accepting water from a sink on top. The electrolytic separator is then outputting oxygen down into the front of the chemical infuser. The chemical infuser is accepting energy again from the back. Okay, I have just a line of cables running through the center of them. It is also then outputting itself, or its output, into the chemical infuser on the right. Okay, there's no cables here because they're touching each other and they can output and input into each other. Mechanism machines work extremely well for that. The chemical infuser is doing a few things here. Okay, this one is accepting water vapor from this rotary condensator from the right side. Okay, on top, it is outputting. See what it is. It's outputting sulfuric acid into this chemical dissolution chamber. Now, what you may notice here is that we have this specifically set to output, like it's polling. Okay, this one is not set to polling. It could be if you wanted it to, but what's happening is this chemical infuser has the side set up for output top, and it's pushing it. Okay, so it's pushing its output into the pressurized tube and outputting it over here with the chemical dissolution chamber. Again, the power is going through the back here. I'm in the compact machine, so all these machines are currently touching the ground, so nothing is currently touching the bottom. If you're doing this in another setup, by all means, you can set it to be on the bottom if you want. I know this is a little bit of a mess. The rotary condensator has water input coming into the top and energy from the back, and it's outputting its water vapor into this chemical infuser from the left. Okay, now the next line. This one is only accepting energy from the front because it happens to be in my line that I set up, and then items from, again, my setup over here. Its output is going directly into the chemical oxidizer, and the chemical oxidizer has only energy input from the front. Like, it could technically have it from the top or the back. It's just I disabled those so that way I can keep a nice little line in the front here. This could probably be significantly better if I just put a flux point down here, so that way there's a little bit less wire. But its output is being directly put into the chemical infuser. And then this chemical dissolution chamber is accepting the sulfuric acid from the top and energy from currently 2 different sides. Okay. Its output is going into the chemical infuser, and then it's combining those 2 outputs into uranium hexafluoride, which is then being output into the isotopic centrifuge. The isotopic centrifuge is attached to this quantum entangler, and the entangler is what is being used in the actual reactor setup. So I hope that helps. If you have any further questions, please join the Discord. You'll be able to get a much faster response, as for me, doing videos takes a little bit of extra time. But I'm always happy to help. So thank you for asking. I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions, you know where I'm at. As always, thanks for watching.